I want to rock, rock. Dun, 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 dun.
I want to rock. I think that's what you're going for, right?
I want to rock.
It's not like you beat us to hold back, man.
I know. Well, I was out of range at first, so. Oh man!
I figured I could be a good wingman and show you that range doesn't matter, because obviously I know how.
Listen, today is a day to be incredibly excited about. I'm definitely in the top 10 list of most excited people for virtual summit, and I know everybody hopping on this builders call has got to be pumped up too. Give us a shout out in the chat or whatever about what you're doing, where you're at. If we have a chat, I think we have Q&A at least, anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. Q&A. But really big day, really exciting day. I just keep wanting to shout out to marketing for the amazing job and work that they've done on this summit. It's next level. It's going to be next level. So
there's going to be so many cool things discussed. I think you'll hear quite a few rollouts tonight on the virtual summit. You're going to hear quite a few visions being casted as well about where we're going as a company, where we're taking this company into the future, into disrupting an industry that is just about as old as economy itself. So it's a very cool day. Very excited about it. Can't wait to share. Goodness, B-dubs, I know it's not easy getting all the text and calls and emails asking for some hints and behind the scenes. So the best part we can always say is we weren't really there for all of it to be filmed. So I don't even really know everything they're rolling out.
It's true.
There were some parts Brandon and Casey wouldn't even let us in the building for. So
that is very true. They were very guarded about that, which a little FOMO kicked in for certain, but we are. Absolutely. It's fun. I know I was on with the Monteith Agency, Melissa Weigel, that whole gang yesterday doing an EOS day. They're all together on site doing an agency owner thing, which is awesome. And a lot of people are connecting either online or face to face, which is just really fun. Hey, can I show y'all what my week was like last week in one picture? I'm gonna share my screen. Ray, check this out, y'all. You're gonna love this. All right, boom. So we were in Orlando on family vacation, and we have a blast going on all these Universal rides, and we had, you go and they try to sell you the picture at the end, and I had to buy that one, right? I mean, my son's laughing his head off at my wife, who's just about to just pass out on the Hagrid's. So, like that was worth the price of admission all the way through. So shout out to Bethany for being a good sport and letting me buy it. And it'll be on the wall hung up somewhere.
Did she make a comment afterwards that she never wanted to ride anything like this again, or was she into it?
She's not into it. She's not into it, but she would probably ride it again just for the sake of the family. So yeah, good times.
That's awesome.
Well,
we got a very special opportunity today, guys. We're going to be joined by a very special individual who I was just bragging on. For those of you out there, I don't think that Ian Graham is any stranger to the leaderboards, to many of you that know his leadership, who he is as a person, and the high character that he has. Such an awesome individual to be around. And some of the rollouts that you're going to hear in tonight's virtual summit, Ian was a integral part in working with Brian Williamson and some of the exciting opportunities we're going to have for training in the future. But most importantly, Ian, I was just commenting on, you look very well rested for being a brand new father again over there. I know it's your second child, if I'm not mistaken, but you told me 2 months in?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Todd. Yeah, he's going to be 2 months old in 1 week here. So coming up on it. He's a trooper. His name is Callan, which means brave little battler. And so, I named the names appropriately. The first one, Owen, is named Young Warrior. So I got to choose a name meanings. That mean they're going to sleep through the night and not give me any crap, right? Right.
It also sounds like a badass little group of Graham family members that you wouldn't want to mingle with in the alleyway. I mean, that's some That's some
We're the
sweet
peaceful
nickname.
type, but yeah, I'll take the badass compliment.
I love it. I love it. Well, Max, we also appreciate you being on, guys. Max has done a phenomenal job. I can't tell you how many times a day I get reached out to asking for Max's contact info, and he's doing everything he can to staff up over there. Got some really exciting things happening. And we've seen some record-breaking efforts in not only production, but recruiting as well. I think Ian's going to talk a little bit today, too, about just the importance of tracking that recruiting. The recruiting analytics can be just as important as tracking as it is on the production side. So, B-Dubs, I'm going to kick it back over to you, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Todd. And man, yeah, Ian, such a privilege to have you on. 100% mad respect for everything about you, character, competency, the way that you just lead your agency. And tell us first, I mean, we're all curious. We see this tugboat agency. Tell us about where this tugboat metaphor came along. I love that. Where'd you get that idea for the tugboat agency? What's that all about, your little brand?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Brian. First off, just to make things right, Ian Graham, direct to Sterling Gatling. I'm part of the Skeen, Alderson Cloutier, Jimmy Spieldenner, Brian Delaney, Edward Pritchett hierarchy. Very blessed to be so, and so grateful to Brandon, Casey, and Brian for the system and the culture that they have set up here at Symmetry that we're able to thrive in. The tugboat, I mean, that's our leaders within our agency. So a tugboat, Brian, is a small little boat that helps maneuver larger ships out to sea and around things and through, obstacles and around them. And so Brian Delaney once told me in a really epic meeting in Indianapolis, he told a group of us that we should believe that we're better than him. And I always believed that Brian was better than me. And so that was like, that has clicked since then. That was 2.5 years ago. So the tugboat is we're the organization that wants to set the standard and for results and for culture and for camaraderie, not in a braggadocious way, but just in a confident way. And that's our desire to be a beacon for the entire company.
Outstanding. Well, it's certainly come to life. That little prophecy has come true. And as Todd mentioned, you're a featured part of this product that we're launching that's going to revolutionize learning and development here at Symmetry, and especially on the metrics side, right? You're a key part on the metrics piece. So what we wanted to talk about today on the Builders Call was just this topic of building metrics. And it's no doubt that this theme of metrics, whether it is thinking about how we predict our agency growth, both from a production side and a building side, or just in general, helping people think intentionally and as simple as possible about the numbers of the business and the metrics of the business. And you do this so well. So first of all, why don't you just talk for a few minutes about how you think about the metrics of the business when it comes to the building side. Just give us the whole cradle to grave. Pretend we're just brand new and saying, okay, I want to start building, and we're on to the module about building metrics. How do you think about this? What are those metrics? Just paint a picture for us of your vision and strategy for the metrics of the business on the building side.
Absolutely, Brian. It all stemmed from frustration. From Sterling Gatling and Joel Skeen told me I wanted to start building right away. I'm a former school teacher, elementary school teacher. I didn't see myself as a lifelong salesperson at all, but I wanted the work-life balance that this provided. And so I said, I want to build. And they said, okay, you need to do 20 first interviews a week. I said, great, I'll do that. And so there was a lot of frustration. To give y'all hope, I didn't have my first writer until my 7th month. And I maybe only missed 3 weeks out of those first 7 months of not doing 20 first interviews a week. And so, Brian, it stemmed from not getting the result I was looking for. And I realized, well, I don't know what's going on from getting a resume in to actually producing a writer. I didn't know where was the crimp in my hourglass. Now on the sales side, what we know is that we're tracking our metrics very closely, right? We have our contact to appointment ratio. We have our sit ratio. We have our close ratio. We have our net placed ratio. And we know where our strengths lie and where our weaknesses or our learning opportunities exist.
And by the way, let me just chime in. And just Ian went through that really quick. And again, this is a teaser for a component of what's going to be rolled out. It'll be available very soon. You'll want to go find out tomorrow, or if this topic of production metrics interests you, you're going to want to go find this metrics 101 and 102 module. And Ian's going to walk you through step by step his system. This was approved by the advisory board. A lot of people are utilizing this already. So it's a really, really simple and powerful way to sort of close the gap on all these other metrics that we don't often think of, even on the production side. So just want to celebrate that. And I do want to just go back. I'm thinking, just to be clear, for 7 months, you were doing 20 interviews a week and you didn't have one writer till month 7. Man, that's some tugboat modeling right there.
I thought I was doing great. I was naive in thinking that I was doing great because I had small wins along the way. It wasn't like I wasn't getting any results, right? I was hiring some people in, they're attending some calls. Some people are getting into licensing. Some people got licensed, but the actual fruit of that labor, an actual writer, was I started building my first month in June of 17, and that was in December of 17. Still with us today, actually. Great awesome guy. So, and I want to give Josh Busick credit for the concept of that metrics that you're talking about. They're going to be rolled out. The counting what counts is his idea, and he was doing it on paper. I just took it into a spreadsheet form. Yeah, so Brian, I think builders like wannabe builders, and that's what I was in the beginning. I was a wannabe builder. We dropped the ball in 3 areas. Either A, we don't apply the necessary slight edge consistency, right? Because on the sales side, we get results immediately from a payment standpoint, from an income standpoint. We make the sale, it's approved. 24 hours later, money's in the bank account. On the building side, it doesn't work that way. So either we're lacking in the slight edge consistency. B, we don't discipline ourselves to be trackers, or C, we're not investing enough money into tools, resources, or people to leverage to expect the right amount of exponential results. And for me, it was that I wasn't tracking well enough. And so what I put in place was very simply a spreadsheet with rows and columns to track my first interview, into my second interview, into my third interview, into are they getting into licensing from that third interview? Are they getting licensed after enrolling in licensing? And are they becoming a new writer? And when I started, I slowly started weaving these things in. I used to have a 2-step interview process. Now it's 3, just fits my personality. I know some people on the line have a 1-step or a 2-step or whatever step it is. It's not necessarily the process that's important. It's the fact that you're tracking the process to understand where is that crimp.
Ooh,
where is that? Where am I getting botched up that I'm not getting the result to that next step in the process, whatever your process is for you.
So good. Yeah, the process, our word of the year, but just thinking through, man, it's a process is the ticket to the game. Tracking the process is the value. Really good insight there. Yeah, keep going.
And what that allowed me to do, Brian, because I was really good at getting people into a second interview, and into licensing at that point in my first 6 to 12 months of building, but then no one was getting licensed. And I didn't know why I wasn't returning writers. And it took me tracking and realizing I'm hiring all these people in and no one's getting licensed. And what it showed me, just like the tie down on the phone script, if we have a low sit ratio, it means we're not setting the right expectations for that appointment. Same thing over here. I wasn't setting the right expectations to get through licensing. And then people were in there for 60, 90, 120 days studying this 40-hour course. And so what I realized I had to track each compartmental step of the process in order to see where were my deficiencies and where did I need improvement. And what I know now, Brian, over the course of really the past 2.5 years, I've been doing it pretty religiously. Over the course of those 2.5 years, I've done 5,668 first interviews, or a recruiter has done that now for the past, I don't know, 2.5, really since then, the recruiter does that. Mm-hmm. And what I know is that now these are my numbers. Yeah. I don't want people to get hung up on the actual numbers, because just like on the sales side, we have different net place ratios, we have different close ratios and sit ratios. We need to know our numbers to reverse engineer what we're looking for. But by knowing, the importance is that you know yours. So then you can reverse engineer. If your net outcome you're looking for is a writer and ultimately an SNA, we need to know how many do I need to get licensed? how many need to get enrolled in licensing in order to get licensed? How many interviews do I need to do to get enrolled in licensing? And for me, what I know now, Brian, over the 2.5 years, is that 11% of the first interviews my recruiters do are going to show up on my calendar as a second round interview. I'm actually going to run it, and I don't consider them booked. I consider I'm actually running the second interview. We're proceeding forward mutually to a third and final step. And I know 50% of my second interviews are going to move into a third. I know that 65% of my final interviews, my third interview, are going to enroll in licensing. I know of the people who enroll in licensing, 59% of those are going to actually end up getting licensed. And I know that 46% of my people who get licensed are actually going to turn into a new writer. Now, what that does on a grand scheme is I know that 1.02% of all my first interviews are going to become a new writer. Let's call it 1%.
Yeah. So
I need 100. If I'm looking for, let's say, one new writer a week, I now have a very predictable formula here that I need 100 first interviews done a week, and that is going to net me one new writer a week. If I want 2 new writers a week, 200. And it's we can reverse engineer everything just like we do on the sales side. If we want a desired profit, we know we need to net place an X amount based on our contract level, which means we need to write enough sales, which means we need to sit with enough families, which means we need to book enough appointments. And it's just, we drop the ball sometimes on the building side where we're just not tracking the numbers. So we don't know.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, that's just, and I've seen your kind of resume to writer spreadsheet and everything that you have tracking. Very simple too. I mean, it sounds, having your percentages that at the ready. I mean, it all starts with just getting after it and documenting it and just starting to take a look at it. I'd love, feel free, folks that are in the chat, ask questions for Ian as we've got about 10 minutes left here. If there's anything that you are curious about based on what he's sharing, feel free to chime in. Max, I'd be curious, what reflections you have? I mean, Ian's pretty aware of his funnel, and any thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, just so much props for Ian, because this is what we've been teaching, showing people in teams over the course of the last several months. Exactly what he said, and pretty close to the same ratios with reference to not only knowing your numbers and understanding how many interviews you have to ultimately net a unique writer. The key is, and Ian kind of alluded to it, is then on each column that you're optimizing, right? The opportunity to train those that you're teaching how to build and things. They may have a different ratio on the top of the funnel coming through when they first interview you. So maybe the recruiter that you've hired, you've got a training opportunity there because the ratios are not where they need to be, where they should be on the average. And so we've been going through a very similar process on every single one of these areas to optimize all the way through. And then we finalize that with what did it cost us,
right,
to get that unique writer. And so when you track these metrics and you know your numbers and you understand the long game, the long commitment, which you did, you said you waited 7 months to get one unique writer. When I was doing it too, I mean, we were getting some unique writers, but it was like the 7th month was kind of like the magic number when everything started just kind of exponentially started to coming in, and we kept pressing forward. We didn't stop. We kept going. That's what impressed me about you, Ian, is that you were able to understand the value of the recruiting program, but tracking your numbers gave you the insight to know the value of that. And so you had, even though you were getting instant gratification on your production, you recognize the investment is really going to pay the real long game retirement for you and your family and those that are on your team. And I think one of the biggest things in anything that we do is how do you run a business if you don't know what something costs you? How do you get to a point where you can have the confidence, because investing in a business like this is a very low risk investment. If you really think about it, if you're spending $1,000 a month and you get one unique writer or 2 unique writers in your advertising, that's paid for your whole recruiting game for a whole year. So you have to kind of know those numbers before you actually realize that and commit into that investment. And I am so excited to meet you, man, because you are one guy that just is killing it doing the metrics, and that's what everybody needs to be doing.
Yeah. Let me, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I want to kind of have you hit on too, buddy, and this is kind of off the cuff. This wasn't planned whatsoever, but I get a lot of calls too and a lot of requests, and a lot of people wanting to know what you mentioned there, getting people into an SNA status. And your agency has been very good at getting those new writers to an SNA status. And any tidbits or thoughts or focuses that you and your organization do to make sure that those percentages are strong?
Yeah, it's proper expectations, Todd. It's proper expectations in the final interview. I'm not moving, like, I'm not throwing mud against this wall and see who sticks against the bricks. I don't want taking marks for recruits. That's why I do have a 3-step process. Make sure they're right for me and that we are right for them. And when we get to that mutual final interview, that after a 3-step process, they've done homework between each of my steps. They have a very good understanding in that final step. We discuss what our expectations are. And those are very simply, they're doing 300 dials a week to get onto the track, to actually start running the race. Otherwise, they're in the bleachers watching other runners run. So I get a verbal commitment. Yes, I'm down for 300 dials a week. Second commitment, yes, I'm down for constant correction, initiated by that agent, that they're going to reach out for help because we don't micromanage. And then the third one is I'm down for associating on conference calls and at any live boot camps and summits and things of this nature. And so I'm getting those verbal commitments from them that, yes, I'll do them. Now, does that mean everyone will? Absolutely not. However, they know those are the 3 components to success. And they're very clear. Brian Delaney says all the time, good business is built on healthy relationships and clear expectations. And prior to that, Todd, my crimp, it went from not getting people through licensing to I was getting people in through licensing, but not turning into a writer. And my crimp was unclear expectations. I wasn't being clear. I thought they were just going to listen to a call and they're going to do it, versus being clear. This is what it's going to take to be successful here. So now that it's laid out, we're churning SNAs. We're not the best in the company. There's many other managers that are churning them better than us. So we're still learning, but we're able to produce SNAs because they have clearer expectations. There's a very high level of engagement on our group me's, and expectations are to be on things like the summit tonight. It's non-negotiable. And so it's just a set of those healthy relationships and clear expectations that Delaney always talks about.
Love it. Let me blitz a couple of these questions. This one's quick. How many recruiters do you have right now?
1.
Okay.
I've toggled between two part-timers versus 1 full-timer, and it's just what fits.
Yep. Good. And then I'm going to combine a couple of these. So Kaleo asked that you broke your process into 3 interviews. So what do you cover in each of those phases? And by the way, just so you know, people have different approaches. Some people might do 1, some people might do 2. So what are those 3? And then that's good. You can just start there. I think that'll come out. The rest of these will come out in that question.
Yeah, in rapid form, the first interview is simply a touch base to see what I picture a magnet with a south end, right, and a north end. They're being pushed away from something, right? The magnetic push away from their current situation. They're unhappy with something in their life, and they're being pulled towards something. And so I want to get those 2 things out in that first interview, is like, what are you trying to get away from and what do you want to move toward? And if there's some substance there, then we're going to send them into a second interview. They're going to do some homework. They're going to see some links, the Symmetry Facebook page, short video, the career page from the owner circle, things like that, just to get them a little accustomed to what we do. They book a time into that second interview.
About how long is that first interview, by the way?
5 to 10 minutes.
I was going to say, so when you think about those metrics that Ian shared, that you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. It's actually, in this process, it's actually pretty quick hit first interviews, get them doing something. And again, I mean, that's a great approach, right? Starting to sort of test the level of commitment and test the level of like, am I really interested in taking that next step to go through the application process, if you will, if I'm a recruit, right? So good stuff. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. I want a mutual fit. I don't want to throw the mud and then yeah. So the second interview is going to be their homework is to bring 2 reasons why they feel like they'd be a right fit based on the research they did, and then we discuss some qualities that we are looking for on our side. And so I have 3 characteristics. You got to choose that for yourself. What are you looking for in a business partner? And so I have 3 qualities or attributes of a right agent that I'm looking for that will fit well within our culture. And I want to get from them, what are they looking for in their ideal company? Because they're interviewing with different places, just like I'm interviewing different people. So there's a mutual understanding there that I'm interviewing them, they're interviewing me. If there's an overlap there, which normally there is, we invite them to move to a third and final step. And the homework between that second and third step is going into a sales meeting. Whether it's live within the Delaney Agency, we have offices around the nation. We do live sales meetings on Fridays. If they're not local to one of those, we'll get them a Zoom link for one of those. We do those, and or a recording one. If it's too far out from Friday, if I'm talking to them on a Monday, I'm not going to wait 4 days, just like I don't want to book an appointment 4 days out. And so I might get them a recording if it's too far away from Friday when I'm talking to them. That final interview, Brian, their homework is to write down a list of questions, because we want to get clarity around how we do what we do. And the sales meeting, for clarity, there is just the corporate overview that Symmetry, from the marketing page, is Symmetry. We do a corporate overview, and then the second half is a short little training, generally about 45 minutes overview, 45-minute training. They get a feel for the culture. The third interview, we're discussing those questions so we can tackle anything that they have about leads or commission or whatever that case is, and then a list of their short-term and long-term goals. Because what I picture is this is a GPS. Symmetry has laid out, Brian, Casey, and Brandon have laid out a GPS on how to get from point A to point B and C and D and beyond. And so when I'm speaking with a recruit, Brian, I picture them at point A, and point B is when we put into Siri, into Google Maps, that's that destination they're trying to get to next 6 to 12 months down the road. And we need to know what that spot is, so we're not just taking a random road trip. And so we're going to get their goals from them on what they're trying to accomplish in point B, and then some more like 3 to 5 year goals down the road, C, D, because now we have somewhere to aim, and now we can hit start, and Siri, which in this case is Symmetry Financial, is going to direct us there.
Nice. How hands-on is your recruiter? Are they only doing first interviews?
Just first interviews.
Okay.
But I'm not against, I'm all for a recruiter who's a skillful recruiter doing more in the process. The most important thing during that is that whoever is running these interviews, this is a people business, so we need to be personable and really getting into some of that magnet that I talked about earlier, what they're moving away from and what they're moving toward. Because the recruiter is really like the host or hostess at a restaurant. It's the first face of the company.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I do think this, Ashton's asking a question here about, like, can you state the questions exactly how you ask them? Now, I'm not sure what interview he's talking about, but you've done that a little bit, throughout. You kind of gave some examples, but what he's talking about, having an issue with making sure to word those 3 questions best, especially the question about them making it clear we aren't micromanaging and they're reaching out to us, right? So what are some, maybe even if you do it as principles for question asking in an interview, which, Max, you'll know, like, this is super important stuff that we don't probably talk about enough in terms of what does that look like? Because, for example, one of the things I've pushed back on working with different leaders is we all know it's important to get at somebody's why, what's their why, but gosh, I would never recommend that you say to somebody, what's your why? That's a very intimidating question, and a very small percentage of the recruiting population that you're going to be, fishing in is developed enough to the point where they're going to actually feel comfortable answering that off the cuff and answering it in that way. In fact, psychologists tell us not to ask why questions because it automatically puts people on the defensive anyway. We should ask more like expansive questions like what or how. So if you want to get at a why, you might say, well, how do you think that this organization will help you accomplish, where you want to get to, assuming you ask some foundational ones. But any principles just on questions that, how to frame them, and if you want to give specific examples, again, that'd be fine as well. But
I mean, it's what you said. We're gonna draw it out, just like in the home, Brian. Yep. We don't ask them, what is your why? We're going to draw that out through a series of questions using the financial information form, as well as some emotional questions to dig in 5, 6, 7 layers deep into that why. It's not just a blanket, what is your why? And then they tell us. It's our job to ask quality questions using some of the who, what, how, those sorts of things. And so especially on that final interview, when we get into their goal setting or into their goals, I'm discovering what are they trying from the very first interview. I'm discovering what are they moving away from? What are they unhappy with? Why are we talking today? And what are you looking for? And in that final interview, once we get into those specifics about financial goals and otherwise life goals, I'm asking them, how do you feel like this company that you're interviewing with can help you achieve those goals? So they're literally telling me in the final interview, this is why I believe Symmetry Financial Group is going to help me achieve goal A, B, C. And so it's a smooth transition then into, it's a mutual fit from my end if you can agree to these 3 components of success. And I'm not sending that application, I'm not sending that onboarding or anything until I get a verbal commitment from them that they're on board with those 3 components, which are the massive action, the constant correction, the association. And once I get that, now we're both on the same page. It's a healthy relationship. We've discovered that I'm finding out what they're looking for. We're in the car together. They're in the driver's seat. I'm a passenger helping them steer toward that goal.
Nice. Well, Max, you're muted, buddy, because you are you're muted, Max, because you're communicating something really good, because you're like speaking Italian with both hands.
Sorry, man.
He had that Italian look to it.
Ian, this is spot on exactly where the magnet analogy that you use, right? In the very beginning, in the first interview, the question was about, what questions do you ask? And so you're talking about, what situation were you in prior to, right? And then kind of why did you, not why, but what made you look at us, right? So the thing that we talk about that being presuppositional, and the way you just said that is when you ask somebody or you're talking to somebody and those magnet things are happening, what situation were you in that had you looking for it? You're assuming that they were in a situation or they had a situation. So what are you doing? You're eliciting a response so that you can listen and understand the pain, right? So those 2 questions about what situation they were in and then why or what made you look at us gives you all the information, if you'll listen, on the pain that they have and then what we have that they like, that we can blend together so it becomes their idea. You're spot on with the analogy on the magnet thing, because that's what we've been talking about is these presuppositional questions in the very first interview. That hit it right there, asking them about what happened to them to get them here, and then what was the reason that they looked at us. And that is so powerful. Powerful stuff.
Well, I will, I'm going to baton pass to Spivey to get us launched for the national call, but I will say a number of asked about the spreadsheet. We'll make sure that you get access to a recruiting tracking spreadsheet. It's coming. You'll hear a little bit more today about the product we're launching that relates to this. It may not be overnight that you're going to get it, but we'll make sure it may not be Ian's exact version, but you'll get one just like it. And so go ahead, Ian.
Can I say one final thing?
Sure.
Always use a shopping cart approach. If your mentor has a tracker,
Right.
and they probably do, like what I say, oh, Ian's doing 3 interviews. You told me to only do 2. Like,
Exactly.
being in unity with your mentor and like everyone's getting results, right? Like everyone here is getting results at a pretty insane level. So like whatever your mentor is doing, stick with it, be in unity with that. It's not my process or what I say or like the exact questions I ask. It's the fact I have a process, the fact I do track. And so it's not this tracker or that tracker or this process or that process.
Yes.
It's that there is a process and there is tracking, and that's the fundamental. And then when we have that, it's game over. And so be in unity with your mentor on that note. But thanks for having me on today, Brian.
Man.
Truly an honor. Thank you, Brandon, Casey, and Brian for everything that they do. And I'm fired up about the virtual summit tonight.
Man, thanks so much, Ian. Definitely in my top of the list of builders calls that we've had. I think it was just great value that you brought. So thankful for you.
Absolutely, buddy. Appreciate you, Ian. And as always, man, blessings to that new family and new baby boy. And be sure and send me all the secrets and recommendations, because I have a puppy right now that I can't even manage. And you seem to be doing great with live humans. So much to love from, much to learn from you, brother. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
All right, B-dubs.
Let's go, man. Me and you today again. They're stuck with me and you.
I know this is going to be an exciting day, guys. We're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it simple.
Mhm.
We're going to do some leaderboards. We're going to talk to the Andrew
Yes.
Costas of America, who's going to be on. He's got a very special training tomorrow. So we'll get to him in just a few minutes as well. Guys, but first and foremost, we are fired up. If you do not know yet, tonight is Virtual Summit. Head to HQ, register now if you're not already. We encourage everybody to please individually register. Even if you are going to a Super Bowl watch party, which there are quite a few of those going on today. I can't tell you how many group parties we've been notified about that are going on across the country. Some as large as 200 to 300 people, some as small as 5 people. But there's so many different ways we're all coming together to unite and watch tonight's big event. Brian Williamson, that is 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
We do not know the exact time that will end, but we think it's somewhere approximately around the 3-hour mark. Guys, we're really going to be hearing about new rollouts or laying the groundwork for future rollouts that we are currently knee deep that will revolutionize the industry as we know it. The intent of the founders, the corporate staff here, your advisory board, all of the leaders across Symmetry, everybody right now is rowing towards one goal, guys, and that is to make being an agent in this industry more simple and more profitable. And we want to continue to challenge ourselves to protect clients in the absolute best way possible. And tonight, I think you're going to see a lot of that. So get registered if you're not now. Even if you are going to a watch party with a large group, please individually register as well. This will allow you to be able to comment as an individual. So if you want to send in a comment or ask a question tonight and you see something on the TV, you can do it from your phone if you're automatically registered to that. And B-dubs. Anything I missed before we kick it off with the video?
It sounds like what I hear you saying, Todd, is that you should register individually, even if you're at a watch party. Is that what I hear you saying? How's my active listening skills? Okay.
That was very good.
Yes. It's great.
John Ziller would be so impressive that you uncomplicated my many words.
John Ziller. He's
Yes.
the GOAT. John Ziller. I'm again, unbelievable props for everyone that invested in making this virtual summit what it's going to be, which is incredible quality, very compelling, good time, and excited to be watching along, flying solo here in Michigan today, watching it, but it'll be fun.
Nice. Well, Miss Ariel, if we got a video out there, if we'll go ahead and play that, then we'll get into some leaderboards.